Just taking me a second longer to load than I expected, guys. So, black screen for a moment, and then hopefully I load in and we switch over. I think that everybody else is probably loaded at this point, but this is the first time that I've opened the client today. So, yeah, there we go. Okay, so hello everybody and welcome back to your coverage of the WPC-A. Oh, my microphone messed up. Okay, so hello everybody and welcome back to your coverage of the WPC-A's Dota 2 League group stage. This is our second to last day of play. We have only 4 matches remaining and this is going to be the first match. Starting off with Vici Gaming versus tongfu-wanzhou, otherwise known as WPC-A. I'm basically here covering on behalf of the Beyond the Summit guys because they are currently busy at MLG, so I'm actually going to be taking you guys through until the end of the group stage, which is going to be wrapping up tomorrow. Again, for the most part, we have pretty much finished up the group. There aren't too many games left to be resolved, and because of that, the overall standings can't change that much, though there is something interesting to talk about as far as this game is concerned. So, 2 of the remaining games do actually feature two of the remaining matches actually featured WPC-A. They've got this match against Vici Gaming, and they've also got a match against IG. So they've got 4 games left to play between those 2 teams. Now the interesting thing is, if you look at the overall standings, so IG have 1 game left to play against WPC-A, and Vici Gaming have this game left to play against WPC-A. Vici Gaming are currently at 34 points. IG are currently at 35. So, if, say, for example, Vici Gaming 2-0 this best of 2, and then IG drop a game against WPC-A, then Vici Gaming would actually take over their top 2 spot. IG would be knocked out. The more likely thing is that both teams will 2-0 tongfu-WZ, just because, unfortunately, they are still currently at their 0-32 streak so far in this competition. But here's the thought. If Vici Gaming win this best of 2 2-0, then they can take tongfu-WZ under their wing, give them some level 1 Roshan strat, something to beat IG, because there's a pretty big motivation for Vici Gaming to try and help WPC-A beat IG if you possibly can. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Again, it's a little bit of a stretch, but this little triangle of games, these 2 sets of games with Vici, tongfu-WZ, and IG, could still end up affecting the number 2 spot, though again, chances are that it's not going to. And it should be, in theory, IG and Vici Gaming both 2-0. IG maintains their top 2, and tongfu and Vici Gaming end up as the number 3, which should be favorable for them, assuming that the bracket is being seeded. Then being number 1, they would probably end up against the lowest of the top 6. So that would, I believe, end up being lgd.int. So, welcome back, guys. It's going to be, getting ourselves into the draft. It's going to be a Timbersaw and Alchemist banned out by the tongfu-WZ side. Vici Gaming getting rid of the Pugnet and the Elder Titan. The Clockwork's going to make it through, as does Venomancer. Venomancer Visage already picked up, and tongfu-WZ going to be following that up with a Nature's Prophet. So Visage is actually the first pick here for Vici, and I'm interested to see what kind of strategy they're going to be going for here. We did see the stand-in ZCD playing yesterday, so for anybody that's wondering, I'm not 100% sure what happened to Sylar, but for a while Vici Gaming were having SYDM, so Tongfu's manager, former player, was playing under the name of Mikasa, so he was playing as their 5th, but I believe he's still currently in Korea because he's participating in the Nexon Invitational Supermatch Series with Tongfu 3. So he's not here to play for Vici, but they have somebody else by the name of ZCD. I'm not familiar with him, but he played very well in their series yesterday, which I believe was against lgd.int, so I'm looking forward to seeing a little bit more of him today. He played an Elder Titan and a Pugna for them, so looking forward to some more of his play. And again, I'm going to be cheering for WPC-A through this because I don't want them to end the series with a 0-36 record. Could happen, but I think I'd like to see them go home with at least the 1 win. The big thing is then, well, one team would have to be the team that lost a game to WPC-A, and I guess that's something that they would have to bear. But at this point, a lot of teams have, well, I guess both teams, here's the thing, Vici Gaming can't afford to give a game to WPC-A because they could still make top 2, and IG can't afford to give a game to WPC-A because they need to hold on to top 2. So there isn't even an opportunity anymore for a team who is guaranteed top 6 but can't climb any further to just say, look, we'll go for something a little bit unusual. If it doesn't work out, we'll just treat it as a show match. So I guess we can't actually... the thought was, okay, maybe somebody who's actually secured their spot, say for example like lgd.int did, they could have just done something a little bit clowny, and maybe that would have been a win for WPC-A. Though I guess if you're them, you don't want the pity win, you want to take a game off one of these big name teams. And I'm hoping for the upset, honestly. I want to see them take one of these remaining 4 games.
Reserve time.
Yeah, and for people wondering, so I guess this is something that I need to clarify for every game that WPC-A play. This team came into the tournament as WPC-A. They were one of the 2 qualifying teams in this WPC-A's Dota 2 League. Then what happened was Beyond the Summit saw their promotional material, in which a couple of them, I believe, were wearing Adidas jerseys. So the BTS guys affectionately dubbed them Team Adidas, and a couple of sites like JD and Gosu Gamers picked up that name, and they were using that for a little while, and they have since been picked up by Tongfu. So they are the Tongfu-Wanzhou team, and I believe that's something similar to Tongfu Academy. They're effectively the Tongfu Team 2. For anybody interested in what's happening with Tongfu Team 3, that's where SYDM is. I think they're only playing for the Nexon Invitational Supermatch Series, so that's Yafits, Kabu, lgd, SYDM, and I don't think that team is going to be sticking around for very long. But that's a whole nother topic in and of itself. Hopefully VP will be able to get to Korea and we can actually see the remaining games from that series. I think they've been having some visa troubles. So Gyrocopter and Luna are going to do the bans here for Vici. They snagged the Weaver. Tongfu are going to get rid of a Lifestealer and a Storm Spirit. I'm sorry if it's a little bit confusing during the game, guys. Hopefully that clarification is enough. I'm either going to call them Tongfu WZ, or WPC-A during the game. I tend not to be super consistent. Normally during play-by-play, I'm just reading the tag over here, so sometimes I'll call them Tongfu. I'll try and be as consistent as I can, though. But anyway.
10 seconds remaining.
So, Vici Gaming going to be picking themselves up a bristleback here. Not that unusual. We have been seeing a couple of teams experimenting with the hero recently. Tongfu-WZ don't have the worst defensive tri-lane, but Weaver does very, very well in a 1v1 against the Nature's Prophet. So that might just be the plan here, and Vici Gaming do have, on paper, a very strong tri-lane. They've got a Visage, they've got a Bristleback, they've got a Rubik, they've got tons of damage, and it should be very difficult for the Tongfu side to initiate into them. And when you feel like you're the stronger team, there is definitely a motivation to just run the aggressive tri-lane, and try and close the game out as quickly as you can. Though again, this is an important match for Vici. It's their last match, and they need to 2-0 this and then hope that WPC-A beat IG. And they could potentially make top 2, and top 2 is a big deal because you get a walkthrough to top 4, basically. You get a bye straight into the semifinals, you get seeded straight into the semis for the playoffs, and that means that you can avoid some pretty scary teams. And with the way that the Chinese scene is shaping up at the moment, everybody is taking games off everybody. There's not even any guaranteed safety in a best of 3, and I don't believe there's a lower bracket either. So getting that top 2, which DK have already secured, they're number 1 for sure, largely based, I would say, on their 6.78 results.
5 seconds remaining.
But yeah, again, there's still a bit of a question about IG. So we're going to have a Dragon Knight banned out here by Tongfu-WZ, so looking like it is just going to be the support Venomancer. They wouldn't really be worried about it otherwise, because they could just run the Venom mid, does very well against the DK. And then also the OD banned out by Vici, so also thinking that the Venomancer isn't going to be mid, he's just going to be the support in the defensive tri-lane. And right now, I guess looking for a mid for the Tongfu-WZ side. They are a little bit light on lockdown for the Weaver. They've got a Bite, which he can time-lapse through. Might be able to do something like Sprout into Arrow. He's unlikely to be carrying a Quelling Blade or a set of Tangos too late into the game. So that's maybe an option, but a mid with a stun would have been great. And somebody that can do stuff early game is going to be important, because I think Vici Gaming are just going to face rush behind the Bristleback here.
Ten seconds remaining.
But Tongfu-WZ actually finish it off with a Naga Siren. Okay, so Mid Venos, Naga Siren as a support. I think that makes the defensive tri-lane even weaker than it was. So that could be a little bit dangerous. I think they were alright to start, but be it a carry Naga, be it a support Naga, I think that this does significantly weaken their tri-lane. And I do think Vici are probably going for the aggressive tri-lane here. Weaver is a really good 1v1 against the Prophet, and all they need to do is find somebody that's going to do okay on mid. They've got 2 minutes to decide, and I think there are plenty of strong options here. The puck could help get them behind towers and fight early, helps to deal with the Naga Siren pretty well, honestly. I wouldn't even mind seeing something like a Dazzle mid, backs up the Bristleback fantastically, does very well with levels, and I think he should do alright against either the Veno or the Mirana. So it would be a little bit out of the ordinary. We have seen some teams running the Bristle, Abaddon, Dazzle, but nobody's really been doing a farming Dazzle from what I've seen. What else could be cute? If Necrolite's still bugged, could be funny. It's actually really... Well, I guess he's not the best with the supports that they have, but does pretty well with Bristle. Has somebody to get up in their faces. The Necrolite can do his thing during team fights. But again, I think a little bit of initiation would not go amiss, especially against this Naga. So I am currently thinking Puck, but we'll see what Vici Gaming have in mind. Could be something even earlier, even more aggressive, not even wanting to farm up farm up a 2k item and then go. And since it is a smaller stream, guys, and I'm just solo casting this time around, I might have a squiz at chat now and then. I know I completely spaced out in one of our games yesterday. I think I was listening to Syndrin, and I was watching chat explode with something that I said, and yeah, I completely spaced, missed 2 kills. So I normally don't look at chat during the broadcast, guys. I like to focus on the game as much as I can, but maybe I'll...
5 seconds
when
remaining.
I'm lacking something to say, I'll have a quick look. And Vici Gaming, well, they wanted the initiation, but they're going to pick up the Clockwork here. I guess the debate was what tongfu.wanzhou were doing with their lanes, but we do have U9 picking up the Venos, so Clockwork could be in for some trouble here if he does end up heading towards mid. They could just choose to put the Weaver mid instead and send the Clockwork up against the Prophet, which is a fine matchup for him. But yeah, I don't expect the Clockwork to do too well if he does end up against the Venomancer. But guys, welcome back to your group stage coverage of the WPC-A Dota 2 League. I'm Basecap here on behalf of Beyond the Summit, and this is our first game of 4 of the evening. It's tongfu.wanzhou, otherwise known as WPC-A, up against Vici Gaming. And over on the tongfu.wanzhou side, we have Mary on the Naga Siren, U9 is going to be on your Venomancer, CJZ on the Mirana, XBG is going to be on the Crystal Maiden, and that's going to leave MT handling your Nature's Prophet, and we've got ourselves a nice little courier, Captain Bamboo, along for the ride. Meanwhile, over on Vici Gaming, FY is going to be your Rubik, all decked out in Kuro's new set. Not the biggest fan of it, honestly, but that's a topic for another day. We've got ZCD, the stand-in, over on Bristleback. We've got Fenrir handling your Visage, we've got Super heading towards mid as the Clockwork, and RTK is going to be your solo safe Weaver. Might be joined by the supports, but I think that we've got Vici Gaming looking pretty aggressive right now. They've already placed down the 1 ward up on top, so they're not really looking to just place wards and then rotate up. I think they are going to be sticking behind the Bristleback for the time being. So CJZ scouts this action out early. So it is going to be the Veno mid. XBG kind of looking like he was planning on jungling a little bit to start things off. Mary's not even heading down towards bottom lane. So looks like the supports got a bit of a pass off as far as the sentry wards are concerned, but I'm already a little bit worried out of the gate for the WPC-A side. I really think that this Naga Siren pick weakened their lanes quite a bit, and now we have to see what they can get done. They might not even be able to fight this tri-lane head-on anymore. It's got a Visage and a Bristleback, so the Crystal Maiden might just need to roam up top and try and force the supports away from bottom lane as best she can. The Mirana's not bad, 3v1. There isn't that much lockdown to be able to kill her. It's 2 slows and only the stun from the telekinesis, so she should still be able to get some levels. It looks like Mary's just going to chill out here and try and run some pulls. So Vici Gaming have already blocked this out. XPG is just going to be doing a little bit of casual farming on top. Worth keeping in mind that he has been spotted by this dire ward as he made his way up here, so RTK shouldn't really be too caught out by this, so long as he's just keeping an eye out as to what's going on. Does mean that he won't be able to harass MT as much as he would like, but I think that's still alright for him at the end of the day, especially if this bottom tri-lane does very well. And if he doesn't die, then the bottom tri-lane isn't going to have to break up, and that means that they can just keep the pressure on the Mirana for as long as they need to. I guess the one nice thing is that this mid lane should work out pretty well, though Super is already getting some pretty good farm. He's playing this very defensively, not going for the battery assault build, just picking up the 2 points in rocket flare. I would expect him to start going back for the battery assault. Now just leaving the flare maybe at 2 points, though we'll see. He might be one of those clockwork players that does just prefer to max out the flare. There is something to be said for max flare. In this game, helps you deal with the Prophet split push a little bit. It's really good for vision. And you've also got a Prophet who's looking to reach level 6 and then probably get a gank going on down at this bottom lane. So if you've also got the constant harassment from flare, that can also be a bit of a boon to your tri-lane. So we'll see how Super's going to end up playing this. And it is actually going to be First Blood up on RTK on bot. Looks like Shikuchi'd in. We've got the walk across from XPG, bites him up and just nukes him down. Sorry for that, guys. Really didn't expect RTK to get caught up here, especially given that he knew that the CM was around. But only level 3 on the Weaver. There was a sentry ward placed by tongfu.wanzhou, and he's just going to run back into the sentry ward. Shikuchi is back on cooldown, and he's just going to get right-clicked to death. So RTK had an amazing performance yesterday on Clockwork. Syndrin and I both praised him a lot for that, but that was one of his more questionable Shikuchis. On bottom lane, they will be able to pick up Mary and find that kill, so Nagasiren getting a little bit out of position, and looks like my map awareness is completely out the window today, so sorry for that, guys, but let's focus in. And now I'm regretting saying that I would look at chat at all, so I haven't looked at chat, in fact. I'm not going to blame that. I've just been not catching these kills. So RTK has to waddle back to lane. I didn't think XPG was going to get nearly as much done, but he's already level 4 on this Crystal Maiden. So Super might not even be that safe over on mid. CJZ getting a little bit of farm down on bot. Again, should be able to grab his levels for the most part, but RTK, another death, and these supports might be looking to make their way top, run some pulls, and get the Crystal Maiden to leave. They would probably only need to send one support, but that does kind of weaken their tri-lane, and it means that they won't quite so easily be able to head over and fight the pull if it does end up happening. But XPG just gonna keep on farming up, almost 1k gold on top of his boots. RTK is playing really afraid, though he does have a little bit of vision on the CM right now. She does have another sentry ward, and the 4-minute duration helping out quite a bit here. And yeah, RTK forced to play so defensively now. He's not doing very well in terms of CS, and Prophet's going to be able to use this good early start and pay that forward to help out this bottom lane as well. And tower gold from the Prophet is going to be a big deal moving forward too.
Dire's middle tower is under
Vici
attack.
Gaming, what are they looking for here? They're standing right on top of a Radiant Ward, so nobody should really be caught out. Mary just hanging back with CJZ, checking in on mid. The Clockwork is doing much better than I expected. Has gone back for 3 points in flare, so solo killing power from Super, not that high, but again, it's going to help out a little bit with the Prophet as we head towards the mid game. And he's got a haste run up right now, so it looks like he's considering trying to catch the Crystal Maiden if she's still over here jungling. We've got a jump on top of FY. The arrow flies in. He's going to go down. Mary in some trouble, but MT, TPs, they've got the Nature's Wrath as well. They've only brought down one. Mary trying to escape. ZCD, does he have enough left? Just going to try and kill spray Mary to death. But CJZ with the jump in picks up the double kill. And now Fenrir looks like he's going to end up going down as well. Just wants to use the Soul Assumption to grab this kill if he can, but MT finishes them off and make that a 3-for-0 on bottom lane. We do have a kill secured on the Crystal Maiden top lane in the meantime, it seems. So Super was able to finish that one off. But I'm still thinking things are looking pretty good for the WPC-A side. The aggressive tri-lane hasn't gone nearly as well as Vici would hope. RTK didn't win top lane as was expected, and now it kind of falls to Super a little bit. to put the team on his back and start getting things done. He is fortunately very farmed. He's level 7. He's got 36 CS, actually the highest in the game. And I made the mistake of saying how much can a clockwork, an offlane clockwork in that game, impact the overall course of the game. That clockwork was handled by RTK, and he was pretty much the standout MVP in that one. So I'm gonna hold my lips, and we'll see what Super can get done here. And I'm not gonna say anything about the WPC-A streak or anything like that. Super's got a hook shot ready. U9 gonna cop some harassment. They've got the Visage here as well. Venomancer gonna deal as much damage as he possibly can before he dies. The Prophet ultimate is bouncing through as well. Super, he's got a couple of bottle sips and some stick charges, so he's gonna be just fine here. MT is still going to be sticking around on top lane. So Vici Gaming getting back on the board. Nice little setup for them. And we'll finally see these supports making their way away from bottom lane.
Players here.
So far so good for Super. The pole camp is still blocked out, but Mary's going to be able to start grabbing some levels pretty soon. FY, looks like they spotted this ward going down. I think their ward was here just a little bit earlier, so they spotted that. We'll be able to de-ward over in the side shop. ZCD, not in the best position. There's the net, still have a rank 3 arrow up. Don't even need to turn and face him. We'll just be able to pick up that kill. Not sure what ZCD was doing so far out. He willingly went into the side shop. Looked like he was trying to go and pick up an item, but underestimated the tongfu-WZ damage a little bit. So tongfu-WZ, they're not leading in experience anymore, but still a minor lead in terms of gold. RTK has been doing a little bit better top lane ever since the Crystal Maiden has left to go and do other things, and looks like XBG is going to be going for the Misery Midas build here with some Gloves of Haste picked up. We've got another hook shot in on mid lane. U9 in trouble. Another Soul Assumption to bring him down. MT actually ends up TPing in Fenrir. He's got his familiars now. We'll be able to send them back. Lands the first stun, lands the second. Mary does some pretty good damage to Super, who comes back in, and it's actually going to be finished off by a right click. Fenrir is also being chased down. Gets into the trees. He's got a salve and some tangos, but uses neither. Though it looks like he's going to be able to walk back to safety. So, not the best trade there for Vici. I was a little bit surprised. I thought Super could have just walked away and didn't even drop any spells. Wasn't really necessary to save the life of Fenrir there. So maybe call it a little bit of a misplay, but an alright trade for tongfu-WZ overall. Though all this time, RTK has been creeping his way toward the top of the CS board. And again, Weaver is going to be a difficult hero to deal with in this game if you are the WPC-A side. They've got a little bit of reliable lockdown, but not that many stuns, honestly. So mobility is not going to be great for him, but a lot of it does rely on landing an arrow to be able to kill RTK. And RTK just going to go back for the recovery Midas here, so feeling pretty confident in just split pushing and taking this to the long game. And his arch nemesis, the Crystal Maiden, is also going to pick up a hand of Midas right around the same time. So maybe we will see the Hex as the response. Hook shot in from Super. He's looking to punish this Crystal Maiden for her earlier transgressions. A little bit further over, however, ZCD is going to eat an arrow. Moonlight Shadow's going to pop off. U9 joins the fight. Couple more rocket flares fly out. Mary's fairly low, but there's a TP coming in from the Prophet, looking to catch people on the way out here. Are we going to have another arrow in just a second? We will. FY steals the Moonlight Shadow, but he's still going to be finished off by that arrow. Nice 4-man familiar drop there. The other one doesn't actually have the cooldown, so it needs to get the hell out, but ends up being actually a 2-for-1 at the end of the day. Nicely done by tongfu-WZ. Only losing the Crystal Maiden, and not the worst trade for them. They are still, for the most part, grouped up on bot, and RTK has continued to split push and continued to farm. Though gold moving further in their favor, experience also bouncing back towards the 0 mark right now. I'd like to see XPG hopefully keeping the pressure up a little bit more, but one problem is vision for them. If you switch it over to the Radiant Vision, they've got the one ward on bot, but their second ward, which they should be having for this 7-minute period, got de-warded a little bit earlier, so they've this ward set kind of has to do double duty right now. It needs to provide Rune Vision, and it needs to be a little bit defensive for bottom lane. So those vision concerns, I think, are fairly serious for tongfu. If you can't see the gankers over on Vici Gaming, then the Crystal Maiden roaming by herself could get a little bit dangerous. Oh, and CJZ leaps into the trees. It's going to get lifted, courtesy of the Rocket Flare Vision. I think Super ended up hookshotting on top of FY there, or maybe got blocked by the familiars, but doesn't end up mattering. They still pick up the kill. 4 heroes bot. RTK trying to hold on to mid lane, but U9 is pressuring. Just rushing straight towards a mech. At the moment, MT does have a Nature's Wrath and a TP ready to go, but looks like Tongfu, the call has already been made to just forfeit this tier 1 tower. They throw the Nature's Wrath, but they're a little bit more interested in mid. Can RTK get the deny? Yes! Very nicely done by him.
Middle tower has been denied.
So, I think RTK at this point has atoned for his sins, made up for the really weird Shikuchi in and die, and then have to walk back to top lane, which we saw earlier. So, he's now doing pretty well in terms of farm, catching up, and Vici Gaming have flipped things around. They are now 3 of the 4 lead farmers, as opposed to the other way around, which I believe was the case for tongfu.wanzhou not too long ago. So Vici Gaming, what's the plan? Get some aggressive wards down, continue to pressure, don't really let the Prophet get away with too much. And I'm a little bit surprised, I was more worried about Super's game here than ended up being the case. He just sort of played the mid lane defensively, got his bottle up, spammed Rocket Flare, got his CS, and it's a really nice pickup against both the Naga Siren and the Nature's Prophet, so he's gonna end up whiffing a hookshot here on mid. Mary looks like he's still in some trouble, no song just yet, still gonna be focused down. Soul Assumption used for that as well. RTK with the double damage. Throws at the Swarm, but looks like Vici Gaming just gonna continue to play this safe. The Moonlight Shadow's back up, so hopefully somebody's packing some anti-invis in their lunchbox, but the answer is actually seemingly no. So they can't dive into the Moonlight Shadow underneath the tier 1, and they're just gonna wisely back off. I guess, good communication by Vici Gaming, but not very good planning. So, what do we got going on for tongfu.wanzhou? We've got CJZ maybe working on a Midas here, because phase boots are pretty typical on Mirana, and if you wanted the treads, he could already have them. The Prophet's gone back for his Midas for sure. He had a great time in lane. And overall, MT's just had a fantastic time so far. He's 3 for 0 for 5, is the lead farmer as well, and has been in pretty much every single kill, so kudos to him. U9 just going to keep on farming up, going to finish his mech in just a second. But there's this weird disparity within tongfu.wanzhou about what everybody is doing. It looks like they're going to have 2 Midas, but then they're also going to have this early mech. I do like the early mech because it means that you can take the fights that the Bristleback and the Clockwork are going to be able to force. But Midas on the Venomancer isn't too bad either. MT gets hookshot here on top lane. Nice bit of gold going to Fenrir with the killing spree ended. Bottom lane, we've also got FY and ZCD pressuring in. And I guess seeing the mech on the Bristleback as well, the fast mech on the Venomancer, they are going to need to take a couple of fights here. Moonlight Shadow's going in, they've spotted FY. Arrow, however, a little bit off the mark, should still be able to get the Rubik regardless, but not before he's able to deal some damage of his own, and ZCD might be able to clean this up. XPG on the way, ZCD going to keep on chasing. CJZ gets finished off. ZCD might just be able to go for the TP here. They've used pretty much all of their disables. Just getting locked down by the freezing field. I think if he just tried to TP immediately, he might have made it, but there is a Song of the Siren. The Ensnare was back off cooldown, so just going to accept his fate. Vici Gaming keep on applying pressure top lane. No fortification ready. They could Naga Siren TP and then immediately Song, but Mary's going for the defensive TP back at the tier 3 right now. MT goes for the deny, but not quite able to grab it, so ends up being a 1-for-1, actually ends up being a 2-for-1, sorry, bottom lane, but Vici Gaming get 2 towers out of the exchange. So gold's going to swing in their favor, as is XP, but I have to admit that this has been a much closer game than I anticipated, looking at the standings and looking at the teams. And it goes to show that while I think people have said that WPC-B get together are maybe the most improved lineup of this ace competition. They've done very well for themselves. It's showing that WPC-A have come a long way as well. They've got the roaming down. They were looking very promising in the early game, and it's still very close. I wouldn't count them out by any stretch of the imagination, though. This Bristleback is starting to get pretty scary. Fenrir's got a medallion up. FY is just going straight for a tanky build with the double bracer phase boots. Relying on Fenrir with his arcanes to keep everybody fueled.
Roshan has fallen.
I'm a
to
little
the
bit
dire.
surprised, honestly, at phase boots from FY. The big thing about, well, they're gonna give FY the Aegis as well, so let's call this a bit of confidence from Vici Gaming here. I think he also managed to grab, I think he also took the Aegis on Vengeful Spirit yesterday, so looks like FY is getting to experience a little bit of farm in these last couple of games. It's been fun to see, but yeah, I don't know about putting the Aegis on the Rubik. Putting on the Bristleback who can just go suicidal is not a bad option either. But 3-man smoke from Vici. CJZ applying pressure top, has finished up his Midas. MT's going to be TPing in as well.
Pull roots and run.
And it's just RTK up here. Is going to end up being arrowed full duration, but not that much anti-invis to wrap it up. And actually, Tongfu come in right as Vici Gaming arrive on the scene. MT, only a couple of punches to kill him. CJZ leaps out, is going to try and go for the TP, but arrow stolen by FY. Jams it in. Picks up 2 kills there. 2 kills for Vici Gaming overall. Very nicely set up. And RTK, I don't think he intentionally ate the arrow, but does end up baiting tongfu-WZ into a pretty bad situation. So, with that, Vici Gaming even up the kill score. They're pulling further ahead in terms of gold, further ahead in terms of experience, though it has been a bumpy ride along the way. XBG, what's he working on right now? Looks like probably just a 4-staff as the pickup. Mary, not a whole lot of fun, but he does have that crucial level 7. And U9, well, 1,300 gold up in the bank. Might just see him go. I wouldn't mind seeing another 4-staff somewhere here. The Nature's Prophet ended up going for a Necro Book. So I think the more 4-staffs the better, especially against the Clockwork and also the Bristleback. If you can kite the Bristleback and continuously reset your stacks in fights, that's one of the most annoying things for the hero. He relies on staying on top of people with goo and slowing them down and sustain damage, but if you can double 4-staff somebody away from him, you can save heroes on very low HP. So something to keep in mind, and maybe a reason for U9 to consider going back for a force here as well. We are going to have a BKB picked up by Super. Again, he's been doing fantastically. 4 for 1 for 4 so far. WPC-A, unfortunately, just forced to be very defensive with their warding at this point. You can sort of tell from their warding situation the kind of position that they've been on the map for the last little bit. And MT, trying to play the split push game, but he's both going to be dealt with by RTK directly, and they can always just have Super make his way up and handle any problems in that way. I believe this Invis might have been spotted, so Super probably shouldn't get a pick off out of it, but still the threat there. tongfu-WZ are moving down towards bottom lane, but it is kind of a trickle. Mary's still over here with no TP. There's an arrow connected by FY. Nicely done. Super jumps in with the hook. And poor Murana won't even be able to leap. Super's still pretty tanky. He's got a BKB as well, so I don't think he's too concerned about this initiation. And Vici Gaming, rest of the team's there to back him up. Should be able to bring down this tier 2 tower. And Mary, maybe if it had a TP scroll there, they could have set something up, got the Prophet ultimate going, if there was potentially a buyback from the Mirana, but no buyback from Mirana, just going to be forced to give away the tower. I believe Vici still have this Aegis up for a little bit longer, and FY throwing some more arrows, but U9 just able to step him. So the hope for Tongfu here was that the Nature's Prophet was going to have a good start, and he was going to be able to rat Dota some tier 1 towers, and from there they were going to be able to get something done. The Moonlight Shadow's been popped, but Fenrir's already placed down 2 sentries, and he's got familiar stuns just to keep Tongfu away. So it's not going to end up being a kill off that Moonlight Shadow. Vanguard picked up for the Bristlebacks, so Vici Gaming really showing that they are not going to be waiting around for any big items. RTK is pretty much the only one who's waiting for farm, and right now, the 2 other big cores, the Bristleback and Clockwork, have completed items quite recently, and with the Lincoln Sphere as well picked up, we might see Vici start to make some more aggressive moves. Again, they are up against 3 Hands of Midas, so might be a little bit of pressure for them to get stuff done. Though I don't think the Prophet split push is ever really going to come into its own. We've got U9 lifted up on the sidelines here. The second familiar drop is going to catch him. What more can they do? Super actually hookshots in on top of Mary, preventing the song counter initiation. He's going to get sniped down by a soul assumption. He was not really in the best position there, despite being between the tier 1 and the tier 2. FY, what's he got his hands on? Unfortunately gets the Starstorm instead of the arrow. RTK, another tower, lift back onto XPG. He should really not be all the way out there. He's gone back for a he's got back for a Necrobook as well. And what's the Venomancer going for? Well, hasn't shown his hand just yet. Age is going to be reclaimed in just a second, well, in just 30 seconds, so FY. Looks like he's just gonna suicide to the tower here. No, maybe not. Maybe just gonna wait around for the regen. Is he actually just gonna charge into the base? He will. Mary's gonna oblige him and kill him off. He could get arrowed on the way back up here, so it looks like that's what Super is waiting around for. Ready to soak it with the BKB. He's actually just gonna end up soaking it without the BKB, but does save FY from the damage. Just gonna be the Starstorm stolen again, and Super, now forced to pop the BKB pretty defensively, gets trapped in the cogs and in the Sprout, continues to eat right clicks. He's gonna hookshot back to FY, so clowny plays from Vici Gaming, honestly. If FY had not decided that he wanted to suicide on the opposing hill, then Super would not have been forced to tank the arrow and pop his BKB, and they could actually just be sieging the high ground right now. So, not the best from Vici Gaming. And now we've got a Yule's picked up by FY, so making up a little bit for his lack of arcane boots here. One thought that I didn't get to finish, and I guess as a pretty heavy Rubik player I can say this, the big reason that you go arcanes on Rubik is not to support Telekinesis and Fade Bolt, which are both great, but it's all to do with really expensive spells on the enemy team. If you're a Rubik and you steal a Poison Nova, that's 300 mana that without Arcane Boots you likely don't have. CJZ keeps on getting bounced around here, just holding on to the leap at the moment. RTK's run in, gonna keep on chipping away at MT, who's just gonna double tap his TP out of here, but Super comes in with the hookshot. Nicely done. RTK is arrowed, but Song of the Siren is just gonna wait that one out, and Tongfu in the midst of a headlong retreat. RTK still wants something out of this. Super doesn't have a hookshot up, unfortunately, so looks like that's gonna be the end of the chase. And at this point, Vici Gaming, things are looking really good. Fenrir has picked up a gem, so map control is going to be pretty easy to claim. Experience and gold, looking great. 10k experience, so 7.5k heading towards 10k experience, over 10k gold. RTK just continues to use the Lincoln Sphere on himself. As we pointed out in a cast the other day, you don't have to do this. This was not a recent change. But if you do have 2 Lincoln Spheres on your team, there is a bit of mind game potential, though at the moment they only have 1. So it's just RTK being a little bit showy. I think maybe he just likes the visual. CJZ gonna get isolated on top lane. Super is waiting to actually hookshot after the leap because it hasn't been used yet. They're just gonna end up using it at the end of the day. XPG walks in, eats a Fade Bolt. Mary's coming in as well. They get the net. Super still has this BKB up, but he's pretty low on life. U9 runs up onto the hill, throws the Poison Nova. FY steals on cooldown because he actually got his hands on the arrow. ZCD pretty low on mana. Looks like they are just gonna end up having to back off, though. RTK still on the hunt, but no, nothing left to be found there. And RTK now has Adesso. This is a rags to riches story for this guy. Gets wiped out twice right at the very start of the game, but he's back on track. He's leading by 5k net worth over the next closest. Well, and Super pops up. Looks like he might have. I'm not sure if you. There used to be this bug where items on the courier didn't count towards your net worth. That's being fixed. But I'm not sure about maybe items on the ground or things like that. So that could have been the reason behind that. I'd have to check the replay to confirm, honestly, because just a moment ago it seemed like Super was below MT. And Super just gonna swing out a hookshot. He's gonna have his Aghanim Scepter up in just a moment, so he's gonna be all right. Meanwhile, MT. Again, going back to this thought that the Nature's Prophet was supposed to do a lot of split pushing and hopefully get the Mirana back into the game after her terrible start, but unfortunately Super had a great time mid, didn't really get crushed by the Venomancer as you would hope for the Venomancer versus melee matchup, and that's really put a damper on MT's plans. So, this game has actually, I would say, defied expectations in a lot of ways. RTK was expected to win that top lane, but Crystal Maiden defied that. MT was supposed to have an okay time split pushing because the Venomancer was expected to do well mid, but Super kind of defying that expectation as well. And the bottom lane didn't go nearly as well as you would expect for Vici Gaming. That was supposed to be a clean win. But tongfu.WZ actually did a really good job of picking up some kills, and a lot of that was due to MT. So I don't know, maybe my expectations were misaligned in the first place, but I think we've seen some overall really good play here from both teams. Vici Gaming again are the favorites coming in, but WPC-A definitely putting up a fight.
Illusion.
And I'm now being called an RTK fanboy for expecting him to win a Weaver versus Prophet 1v1, so my bad. But anyway, Vici Gaming just going to keep on denying vision. Super is going to put the brakes on MT, split pushing up on top lane. He's got his Aghanim Scepter finished up now, so we're going to hear a whole lot more hook shots from this point forward. U9 goes back for the Necrobook. Again, I think a couple of Force Stabs really would have done them good this game. And they've got so many heroes that could have picked one up. The Prophet, the Crystal Maiden, the Venomancer. RTK is going to double damage in Adesso, so MT, say goodbye. It's going to just wipe him out, no problem. And meanwhile, on mid lane, Song of the Siren pops, but TJZ is already dead. FY managing to pick up that kill. And just gets his hands on the Starstorm one more time. RTK with the double damage kills the CM inside of her own base. You gotta play a little bit more careful when this guy's around. And U9's gonna get hook shot. Looks like we won't even get a climactic team fight to close out this game. RTK is just gonna pick up a triple. Actually only ends up being the double kill. Gets mech'd up, and Vici Gaming looks like, well, pretty quickly gonna be able to finish this one up. RTK Greed gets the better of him, gets the last hit on the Necrobook, but that is going to end up costing him his Aegis. He wants more Necrobook last hits here. Though Fenrir is actually the one to soak that one. We've got FY jumping in. XPG going to be finished off by RTK. And this is looking like it's going to be Vici Gaming just hanging around until they can finish this. WPC-A, very nicely played this game, I have to say. I still want to see them take a game in their remaining 4, but looks like it was not meant to be this time around. So guys, I've been Baseskip here providing coverage on behalf of Beyond the Summit for the WPC-A Dota 2 League group stages. This is our second to last day. This was the first game of our first best of 2. Again, if you'd like to leave me any feedback on my casting, you can email me at baskipdota@gmail.com. Otherwise, find me on social media under the name of Baseskip. Big thank you to... Whoa, okay, game's gone. But big thank you to BTS for having me on to cast. What else is worth mentioning? Don't forget to follow or subscribe if you'd enjoyed the coverage. And yeah, that's going to wrap it up. We're going to be back with Game 2 hopefully pretty soon. The Dota 2 network was having some issues earlier, but I think we're okay. Though me getting booted out of that game that quickly was a little bit surprising. So guys, thank you very much for tuning in, and I hope to see you for the next game.